Good afternoon, everybody. We have a great segment planned for you today. Johnny's ready at his kitchen, and we have a special guest, Mike Golic, with us today. Hey, Mike, what's going on?
I am just ready to watch this get cooked and then wish I was there to eat it. That's the only downside is watching Johnny cook this, not being able to eat it, and eat it in a float in the pool right behind him.
Yeah.
With a beer on one side and some of this chicken in the other would be really, really nice.
I feel your pain. I get that every week, it seems like. So, Johnny, what are we doing today?
So today we're making a chorizo stuffed smoked chicken. It's a very versatile dish. You can use anything you want to stuff it. You could do Italian sausage, cornbread stuffing. Today I'm going to walk you through how to debone a whole chicken and then stuff it and roll it. And why I like doing that is it actually increases your yield on the chicken. So once you stuff it, then you can slice it, and you can probably feed easily up to 6 to 8 people with this dish. So I think if everybody's ready, we'll get started. So we're going to start with a medium chicken.
When you say 6 to 8 people, that would be 6 to 8 people or me and Brian, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Thank you for clarifying that, Mike.
I want to make sure people understand if Brian and I are at the table, other people aren't getting much.
Note to self, make 2. All right. First thing we're going to do is we're going to cut off the ends of the legs. And reason for that is we're going to be using the skin to wrap the chicken after we stuff it. And the legs are a piece that kind of hold the skin together. Next, what we're going to do is take off the wings. So there's a joint right in there where it meets the breast. And I'm just going to run my knife around it so I can see where the joint is. And then what you can do is bend it. And there I see my bone just popped out. So I'm going to take that wing off. And you can save these wings and throw them on the grill and have a nice little snack for yourself.
Yes.
Yes, please.
Yeah, please.
You'll laugh about this, Mike. You know, one thing I learned is when Johnny has a knife, stay away.
I was just going to say, you're doing this so easily. This is the part that if I would try and do it, man, I would hope I wouldn't knife myself too many times.
Well, honestly, it just takes practice. It's like anything else. You know, put me on the field and I couldn't do much of anything. So,
yeah, I would like my odds there better than my odds with what you're doing.
All right, so now I've got my socket bones out. Now what we're going to do is turn the chicken over to what we're going to do is remove the backbone. But before we remove the backbone, I want to maximize my use of the skin, again, because I'm going to wrap it. So I'm just going to run my knife down the whole length of the backbone, and I'm just going to peel the skin back, because if I cut off the backbone with the skin, I kind of lose that skin, and we're going to need all the skin we can muster. So once I've got the backbone opened up like that, you can take kitchen shears, and you basically just want to cut down and cut out the backbone starting from the neck to the tail. I'm going to use a chef's knife, and I'm just going to start kind of chopping my way right down to the bottom to pull that backbone and neck out.
Is that a chef's knife or a machete?
Yeah, I was going to say that's a knife.
It helps if you're sharp. Your knife is sharp.
Johnny, your career, if I remember correctly, started at like 13 in your dad's kitchen. So from 13, how long would it have taken you? How long till you were able to do something like this?
So the first time my dad gave me a knife and something to butcher, it was chicken. And the first time I did it, we did it side by side. He had a bird and I had a bird. And he was walking me through the steps. And I remember this distinctly because we were butchering it. And then when he looked at mine, he said, "You can't be my son." It took me probably about, 4 or 5 tries before I really got comfortable with it. And then everything, the rest is history. Then we moved on to other different items to butcher, legs of veal and, beef and fish and all that. So our next step, now that we've got this opened up, is here is the breastbone. And this is basically what holds the rib cage together. So what I want to do is just kind of crack that with my knife, but I don't want to cut all the way through because I need my chicken whole. So once I've cut that through, I'm going to take my boning knife, and now we start to pull that breastbone out. So I'm going to run my knife down both sides, just along the cartilage, and then I'll be able to pull it out with my hands.
There's some prep involved in this meal.
Yeah, there is quite a bit, and as you can see, there's your breastbone. So now that's out. And now we basically have just bones on both sides, the legs and the breast. So I'm going to start taking out the leg bones. And how you do that is you really start just by running your knife perpendicular to the leg. And that's going to show me the bone right there. And now this is where it helps to know the anatomy of the chicken. There's a little bone that holds the leg to the breast up here. And that's going to, if I pull that out, you're going to see the socket. Okay, and there you can see there's the socket right there of the thigh. Then I'm going to continue and follow that bone straight to the other cut that I made. So it's kind of like a 90-degree, almost like an L shape. And what I'm doing is I'm just cutting so I could see the bone in order to pull it out. Now, I'm not cutting too deep, or I'm going to cut through the entire chicken just enough that I can get my knife underneath that bone and just do that. Now it's free. Go and do the other side as well. And now I'm just going to kind of scrape and use my knife to take the bone piece out.
So Johnny, not to look to do shortcuts or cheat, but I'll ask anyway for those out there that maybe don't feel as handy with a knife. Can you get like a deboned chicken and do this?
You'd have to go to the butcher, your local butcher, and ask them to do it. And they should be able to assist you. You may have to pre-order it, though, because it's not something they normally sell. So now I have a deboned leg. I'm going to move up to the breast, and what I have is the rib cage. So I'm just going to take my knife, and I'm going to slide it underneath the rib cage and just kind of slice away that rib. Okay, now the only thing connecting it is the wishbone, which is right there. I think everybody knows that from Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so now that side's done. This whole side is completely boneless now. I'm going to basically just repeat the process on the other side.
Wow. All right. So while you're doing that, again, we're talking to obviously Johnny Imbriolo, who is the director of culinary for operations at BBQ Relief, and Brian Marosca, who is the head of culinary for Operation BBQ Relief. And Brian, I want you to talk about, Operation BBQ Relief. I've been involved with for about a year or so, and I think it's incredible. For those that may not know enough about it, you can go to obr.org to find out more and find out chances to donate, and also maybe to become a volunteer, something that, Brian, I'm going to ask you about on these deployments. When Operation BBQ Relief deploys to a natural disaster, you could be there for a while, and you really rely on volunteers and donations for this. And obviously, this is an organization that would love to not exist. But unfortunately, we know it does exist because it's needed, because we are getting into that season where a lot of natural disasters are going to happen, and Operation BBQ Relief is going to be busy. I do want to get to that, but it's not the only thing Operation BBQ Relief does. There's BBQ basic programs as well. And Brian, I know you were just out doing something with that. So explain to everybody kind of what that program is.
Yes, for sure. So you definitely hit the nail on the head. We have what we call our disaster and non-disaster sides. So as you said, disasters, when a hurricane strikes, we go out and feed the people that need to be fed. But on non-disaster, we go out and we support our veterans and our first responders. So barbecue basics, what do? We set up barbecue grills and a whole setup, and we actually have veterans and first responders come together, and we teach them how to barbecue. The best part about that, it brings together camaraderie. But the other thing is we have a contest on the second day. So they take what they learned the first day, and then they put it to work with other guys or other ladies, and in teams, they get to participate. And, this past week, we were in West Virginia doing this with the Veterans Administration, and it was unbelievable These guys said that, this was the best 2 days of their life in the last few months. It's just unbelievable. Something we go out to give back, and they are saying that, we're giving them so much, but they've given the country so much. So it's just so awesome.
How competitive do those do they get when all of a sudden when there's a little competition involved?
Oh, pretty competitive. You know how us sports guys are, right? So military guys are very similar.
I bet they are. And I know you did a lot of that early on, actually with your parents, right? I know you would
Yep.
be in barbecue pitmaster competitions, and your parents would be on your team. You guys have won over 100 awards. I want to know, when it gets going in there, have you ever had to yell or talk sternly to your father or mother during those competitions?
Oh, no, never. I think Johnny might actually have seen that in the competition he came to.
Yeah, I did. And I would say that Brian, and I can attest to this, Brian is the nicest individual you'll ever meet under pressure.
Well, let me ask you this. If you needed to say something sternly to them, would you have, or are you just doing it out of respect and not doing it? Because I'm sure they'll yell at you.
Oh, we've done it once or twice. I don't like to because, they're my parents, but
after the competition, there may be another conversation. So we will see. All right, Johnny, it looks like you got the other side done. So where are we going next?
All right. So now our breast and our legs are completely deboned. So the next step of what we're going to do is we're going to take, and Mike, I got another little toy for you, a little meat mallet here.
Yeah, slam it.
What we want to do is flatten this chicken out because we want it to be the same thickness so that when it cooks evenly. So I'm just going to run my mallet on here a few times.
I love that hammer looks, or that mallet looks prehistoric.
It looks so good. I mean, I would love to have that.
Okay, so now that is done, the next step is to separate the skin from the meat, because remember, we want to use the skin to wrap it. So you really just got to take your fingers and work your way underneath the skin and pull up the leg meat like that on both sides.
This is definitely a beginner recipe, right, Mike?
Man, you know what? It reminds me of when you got to kind of peel, like when you have like that contact paper and you got to peel the other part off, and you can't quite get the corner of it. Yeah, drives me nuts.
I'm doing the same thing on the breast, but not all the way. I'm leaving the skin attached at the top. So now, while I've got this up, now it's time to season.
Okay.
So I'm using our OBR Florida Mojo rub. I like the citrus flavors of it, the cumin. And what I'm going to do is just sprinkle a little bit on the skin, and then I'm going to put the meat back in its original spot. Same thing with the breast.
And gang, I cannot express enough. Get these rubs and these seasonings there from Operation BBQ Relief. They're phenomenal. There's not a time I cook out where I do not use some of it somewhere.
And they're so interchangeable because you can use them on poultry, steak, seafood, vegetables. They have so many applications, and they're really phenomenal. And as well, Lowe's donates back $1 for every jar that they sell to OBR, and that helps fund our disaster programs. So I'm going to now just season the top a little bit. Okay, so now we're well seasoned. Now the fun part starts.
Yeah.
We're going to take our chorizo.
Oh, yeah.
Mike, you're a fan of chorizo, right?
Chorizo, I put it in my omelets. I mean, I am a monster fan of chorizo, yes.
Yeah, and again, this is a spicy Mexican sausage. You can tell by the color is very orange. Once I've got that spread out over my chicken, now I'm going to take some chopped cilantro, and I'm just going to sprinkle it over the chorizo. This will, again, give it some nice color once we go to slice it, but it also adds quite a bit of flavor. Okay, now comes the part where it all starts to make sense.
Okay.
Now we're going to start rolling the leg meat with the stuffing up towards the breast meat.
Hey, Johnny, guess what? We got a We got a nice comment from Miguel. You remember he was in the Barbecue Basics in West Virginia this past week.
Yes, that's right. Hey, Miguel.
He's saying about taking first place in ribs.
Oh, I bet it was a fun time then when you take first place. Yeah.
You know, Mike, it's always fun when you're in first,
Yes,
not so much when you're in last. So now we have our chicken rolled up all the way up to the top where we left it connected. Now what we're going to do is take our skin and we're going to basically fold it over what we just stuffed. Okay, so now what I have is a deboned whole chicken that's stuffed where the dark meat is in the center and the breast is on the outside. And when we go slice it, you'll see exactly how it's going to look. Now, the last thing before we cook it is clearly we couldn't cook it just like this because everything would kind of fall out.
I know what you have to do next.
What's that, Mike?
You got to tie it up.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what I like to do, there's lots of ways to tie chickens. The one I'm going to show you is probably the fastest and the easiest. So the reason for that is because of the stuffing. If we do a traditional tie where we have the string and we keep pulling it, what I found is the stuffing can kind of push out the sides, and we want all that good chorizo to stay inside. So I'm just going to do one slight tie lengthwise, just enough to hold it in place. We're not pressing too hard where it's going to disfigure the chicken. And then what I do simply is take the string and I start on one end with my thumb and I slide it underneath and then I just pull slightly. And I just keep repeating that process, and that's going to hold this chicken in place for when we go to smoke it.
Wow.
And you can do the same thing that I'm doing also with a turkey. Again, just a much bigger bird, but the same process.
Okay, that's a little more involved than I thought of just tying a knot and letting her go.
Well, and Mike, you could, if you wanted, just do individual ties and it would work just fine.
Okay.
I just like to show everybody a few little tricks of the trade that they can either try or not try. But
Johnny, you like to show off a little bit, right?
I wasn't going to use those words, Mike, but since you did, I'm okay with that.
That's why I'm here. Yeah.
Hey, Johnny, Joe Bowser asks, did you throw the chicken tenders away or did you just stuff them in there as well?
No, I saved them, and I kept them with my chicken wings because those are great for just making breaded chicken tenders as well. And the reason I did that, Joe, and it's great, I'm glad that you brought that up, is when you go to pound the chicken and the chicken tenders are in place, they end up shredding because they're just so tender, and the dish really doesn't need it. But a great alternate use, make chicken tenders. So we got wings and tenders as our snack food, and then we've got our roast.
Bottom line is you're not wasting anything. You're not wasting any of the chicken.
Not a thing. You even can save the bones to make chicken stock for chicken soup and things like that. So our last step is to take more of this Florida mojo, and just kind of put that over the top on both sides.
Wow.
And again, this is where the real seasoning and magic happens. I'm going to put this in a smoker that's set at 325, and it's going to cook for about an hour to an hour and a half. Now, every smoker is different. I did this other one on my grill with a chip box. So I think you just got to keep checking the temperature, the internal temperature. What you're looking for is an internal temperature of 165. That's when you know it's cooked. All right, so I'm going to place this on my smoker.
How long will it take on your smoker?
With the grill, and I've got it set to 325, probably about an hour and a half is a safe estimate. All right, now we're ready for the finished product.
Yes, that's what we're talking about. Again, people, you want to check out Operation BBQ Relief, obr.org. You can go there to donate because none of what they do happens without donations from people. I don't care if it's $1, $5, it doesn't matter. It all adds up because when Operation BBQ Relief deploys somewhere, they stay there sometimes for weeks on end with the volunteers. And there's a whole lot involved, and they've got it running like an absolute machine when they do this. But they need volunteers and they need donations to keep that running, to help those people that have been displaced, affected by the natural disasters, the first responders out there. Operation BBQ Relief takes care of all of them.
Thanks for that, Mike. And, I would say when a natural disaster hits, you got to realize that most people have lost everything at that point. And anybody who's been in that position, it's a very scary position to be in. And I think, a lot of our deployments will have folks who are recipients of our meals end up coming back a day or two later to help with the effort as well. And I think it's their way of saying thank you and giving back at their most vulnerable time.
Yeah, it's again, one less thing of all the things they have to worry about. It's one less thing they have to worry about because of what you guys are all taking care of there. And then they see how much it helps people, and then they want to help. So it's a great domino effect that goes in a great direction. Oh my gosh, look at that! So
here's what we're left with.
Wow,
is basically a smoked chicken, and as you can see, it shrinks a bit. And the first thing we want to do is take off that butcher's twine that we put around it to hold it in place. And I know you can't smell this right now, but it's an amazing aroma of smoked chicken, which has a very distinctive smell. I used hickory chips today, one of my favorite, but you can use cherry, apple, anything that you have in your house or that you enjoy cooking with.
Wow. I take that back, Brian. You're right. Me and you may not be splitting that. I might eat that like a pepperoni stick. Grab and start gnawing on it. Wow.
Great color.
This is going to be unbelievable when you slice it. When you slice this, I can't imagine what it's going to look like.
So
now is the skin crunchy? Can you?
The skin is crispy, and the inside of the chicken is nice and juicy.
You sent one of these to each of our houses, right?
Yeah, they should be ringing your doorbell any minute now.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you.
So now, as you can see, we've got that nice pinwheel effect with the leg meat in the center, the chorizo, and then the breast meat around. So you can see it glistening. It's got an amazing aroma, and the flavor is absolutely incredible. And really, that's everything to the dish.
You got to try it.
Stuffed smoked chicken.
You
don't have to worry about that.
We've done everything in this weird time we're in, where everything is on computers like this to watch. I need somebody to invent the smell, where the smells can come through the computer. That would be awesome.
I think that's $1 million idea.
Wow, that is a great job. So there you have it, everybody. Johnny Imbriolo and Brian Maraska. This has been incredible. For those of you who want to give that a shot, that he gave you the recipe of how to do it. Deboning the chicken seems to be the fun part. That's something I think I would like to learn to do. There's no doubt about it. I love doing this. I loved when we were all together and we were doing this in person. I know we have to do it like this occasionally, but I think it still gives people a great idea of what's going on. And again, I would ask everybody to check out obr.org, where you can learn about Operation BBQ Relief. If you'd like to donate, great. If you'd like to volunteer, great as well. I get guys like Johnny and Brian who you get to see while all this is going on, because help is going to be needed, and guys like these and so many others are part of it. So I thank you guys for that. So any parting thoughts from you guys? Hit it.
I could say, Mike, I want to thank you for joining us for today's live. It was a lot of fun doing this dish, and I can't wait till we're together again next. And I'll grab a chicken and we can do it side by side like me and my dad did.
Oh, so good.
I had a blast. I got to show this one comment that just popped up. You guys are going to love this. I suddenly think the brisket plans for the weekend are inadequate.
Well, and I can tell you, Thomas, the chicken is much cheaper than the brisket.
I would love people, if you try this, send pictures of it. You can tweet Operation BBQ Relief on the Twitter page. You can tweet in there. I'd love to see some people's attempt at this and what it looks like. So I'd love to see some pictures of people trying it.
Well, Mike, thank you very much for joining us. Johnny, excellent job as usual. I'll be over in a few minutes to try that.
Yeah.
I hope you guys all have a great day.
Yeah, guys, thank you very much. Appreciate you too. Appreciate everybody watching. Y'all have a great day. Take care.